All right. Are we are we all in agreement that Elon Musk is a white nationalist? What a great picture. I'll throw that up, Slime. Everyone. This guy here, Master Race, right? Master Race. I think we all know he's a white nationalist, apart from his Sieg Heiling, which I suppose, plausible deniability. All the white genocide shit on Twitter. Isn't that wild? All that shit last year. He had another faux pas, you can say, recently. Here we go. Elon Musk fully endorses shocking call for white solidarity. This was a recent thing that happened here. President Trump's once and future first buddy, Gross, has endorsed a social media post calling for white people, especially men, to defend their political power against other races and ethnicities. If white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. A user going by the name Jer wrote on X. Remember, and also stop using X. Nobody should be using X. Don't do that. X is bad. Don't use X. Uninstall X. Remember, if non-whites openly hate white men while white men hold a collective majority, then they will be first. If it's specifically white men, then white men do not hold a collective majority. I believe there are more white women, especially in this country. It doesn't matter. I'm getting sidetracked here by facts. Oh my God. Then they will be 1,000 times more hostile and cruel when they are a majority over whites. White solidarity is the only way to survive. Musk replied to that post with a 100% emoji, signaling he agreed 100%. Here you go. White Christian nationalists, in particular, have embraced the concept of white solidarity, or the idea that white people represent a unified group that must protect itself from perceived threats, especially immigration and racial minorities, according to a December article in the journal Social Forces. So, white people don't exist, right? Like, I'm not a race realist. There's no such thing as the white race. It's just like an identity that people like to have because of their skin pigmentation. But, all the different ethnicities, there are several different ethnicities that will fit into what people consider to be white, right? And that definition changes all the time. It does, from, the whitest, purest, whitest snow Aryans of Swedish descent or whatever, to people who are from the Caucasus Mountain region, to Middle Easterners, to a lot of Hispanic people. There are a lot of people who are considered white. Now, so it's really silly to have this idea. First of all, I don't think people should be grouped by race. Anyways, you shouldn't identify with your race. I think that's really silly. Or your ethnicity, or really your nationality. You should identify with your ideology, right? The things your ideas, what's important, the substance of you. Like-minded people should group together rather than, whatever determines the circumstances of your birth, I should say. But anyways, the idea is similar to the widely debunked Great Replacement theory that Musk has promoted in the past, including with his terrible AI. Remember that, guys, that would randomly throw up white genocide comments when people would ask it questions that had nothing to do with that. Musk has promoted in the past, which claims that Jewish people and leftists are engineering the ethnic and cultural replacement of white people. I feel like a lot of leftists in this country are white, I don't know. The billionaire Tesla chief has since tried to walk back his support for the anti-Semitic trope, but he undermined the effort by giving a Roman salute at Trump's inauguration, the Sieg Heiling, making a series of tasteless Nazi jokes on X, stumping for the far right in Germany, and creating an AI-powered chatbot that praised Hitler. His championing of white solidarity comes as he has been working his way back into Trump's good graces after an explosive fallout last summer. It talks here. We're actually going to look at another article that goes over this, so we can end this here. But before we get into that, I just want to point out, this was, oh, you guys can get all the things that I searched for pulling tonight. This was Elon Musk last year at an AfD rally, which is a German nationalist right-wing political movement.
Fight for a great...
Don't worry about that, buddy. I'm on it.
future for Germany. Fight for a great future for Germany. Go, go, go. Convince your friends. Convince everyone. Let's go.
Fight for a future for Germany. Fight for a great future for Germany. Nothing too controversial there yet, right? Let's forget about the context of this. Let's forget about the event, the rally where this is taking place.
Yay!
An Tag 1, liebe Freunde, an Tag 1 werden wir.
One day, on day one, we will close the borders of our beloved fatherland. Jeez, that's a little sketch, isn't it? Forget about the country that it's taking place in, but in any country, it's weird.
Die Grenzen schließen
We
von
will
unserem
close
geliebten
the borders of our beloved
Wir werden
fatherland.
unsere Grenzen schützen gegen illegale
We will
Migration.
protect the borders against illegal immigration.
Es reicht. An Tag
Enough is
1
enough.
werden wir gleichzeitig.
On that day, we will simultaneously deport all those obliged to leave the country. I think Hitler did the same thing with the Jews before he killed them all. Tried to get them to deport themselves.
Alle Ausreisepflichtigen,
Just saying.
sich hier illegal aufhalten.
Who are here
Alle
illegal.
Kriminellen.
All criminals, all offenders. If it's anything like the immigration roundup here, most of the people rounded up are not criminals, right? They don't have any criminal history.
Alle Straftäter werden wir abschieben. Sie müssen unser Land verlassen.
Especially not violent criminals. Musk told the conference attendees that Germany had too much focus on past guilt.
Well, first of all, I wanted to
This is the part that's kind of sketch, right? It's sketchy saying this in Germany at a far-right rally.
really say that I'm very excited for the AfD, and I think you are really the best hope for Germany. I think some things that something I think that is just very important is that people take pride in Germany and being German. This is very important.
Why? Why should people take pride in national identities? First of all, I think that's something that we need a broader discussion about nationalism, because one of the big pillars of fascism, well, one of the two main pillars of fascism is ultranationalism, right? We always see that repeated throughout. That's one of its defining things. We always see that throughout fascist governments. There is ultranationalism, including in our regime here currently. So I think like that, we need a broader discussion about that going forward at some point. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Actually, I know for sure I will at some point, whenever that gets finished. But, it's interesting that he would bring that up in that context. It's weird to be proud of where you're born or your race or your ethnicity, I feel, personally. I'm an existentialist, though. See, I feel like these things are conflations, offuscations of what a person's identity actually is.
It's okay to be proud to be German. This is a very important principle. I think there's frankly too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond.
There's too much of a focus on past guilt in Germany. Huh. What a crazy thing to say, huh? That's pretty strange. I don't know.
That, children should not be guilty of the sins of their parents, or even let alone their parents, their great-grandparents, maybe even.
It's weird that he would say that, considering who his grandfather was. But yeah, this video isn't about Elon Musk being a Nazi, white nationalist. That's not what it's about. But I just want to put forth the argument that Elon Musk is a white nationalist who believes in the Great Replacement theory, who promotes white genocide conspiracy theories on his Twitter platform, and who goes to far-right ultra-nationalist rallies in Germany and talks about how they need to get over past guilt for Germany's not too distant history within the last 100 years, right? There's another aspect of this too. And I think it's going to become clearer as we progress here what this video is actually about. First, I want to go over Elon Musk's political donations. I think that's going to help us here. How much money did Elon Musk spend in the 2024 campaign? $291.5 million. More than anybody else by $100 million. We have Timothy Mellon after him Miriam Adelson. If you guys don't know who Miriam Adelson is, she was the guy that, didn't mean to misgender you, Miriam. She was the person that gave Trump millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. She's very pro-Zionist, very pro what's happening right now in Gaza with the genocide. She's a genocidal piece of shit. Just so, we're clear on that. But, and she, and that's she's a big proponent of the greater Israel, right? Of Israel expanding beyond its borders, annexing more territory of the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank and parts of Syria. Video's not about that. There will be a video about that in the future for sure. This is not the video. But Elon Musk gave a profound amount of money. $291.5 million. That's a crazy amount of money. I wonder how that's paying off for him. Let's see. Before, this was in 2024. So before we even get into this, let's look at how Elon Musk companies are funded by the government. This is an art, and you'll see, you guys, I don't know, man, the picture might be becoming clearer to you of what this video is about. But I want to take a look at this article here. So, point one, Elon Musk is a white nationalist who believes that we need to band together against minorities, right? It's important. Part two, he's donated hundreds of millions of dollars, over $100 million more than the next biggest donor, to Donald Trump's re-election campaign in 2024. Part three, Elon Musk received billions of dollars for his company. This video is probably about Kamala's weird laugh. Yeah, I think so. Actually, Kamala's not completely innocent. Well, I mean, maybe she is. But you know who's not innocent in this? Joe Biden, honestly. Because this article came out in early 2025, and it talks about all the billions of dollars we gave SpaceX, Tesla, his companies, even prior to Trump regaining the White House. So when you think about it, 291 million isn't that big of a percentage of money when compared to 38 billion. It's like less than 1%. I think, do the math here real quick. It's like 0.8%, less than 0.8%. Interesting. Elon Musk and his cost-cutting U.S. DOGE service team have been on a mission to trim government largesse. Yet Musk is one of the greatest beneficiaries of the taxpayers' coffers. Over the years, Musk and his business have received at least $38 billion in government contracts, loans, subsidies, and tax credits, often at critical moments, a Washington Post analysis has found, helping seed the growth that made him the world's richest person. So he's a welfare queen. The payments stretch back more than 20 years, shortly after becoming CEO of Tesla's cash-strapped Tesla in 2008. So Obama was a big part of this too. Musk fought hard to secure a low-interest loan from the Energy Department, according to two people directly involved with the process, holding daily briefings with company executives about the paperwork and spending hours with the government loan officer. I think, now this video is not about this either, but a big point I want to make is that we created an oligarch who then destroyed the government. So Democratic presidents, Obama and Joe Biden, funded Elon Musk companies with billions of your money, of my money, of taxpayer money. And he used that money, he used that investment to grow his own wealth. And then he destroyed our government. And we'll get into that in a bit. But I just want people to realize what happens when we subsidize these people. What happens when we give these fucking leeches money. It's not good. They can't be trusted with it. We shouldn't do it. It always fucks us in the end. When Tesla soon after realized it was missing a crucial environmental protection agency certification, it needed to qualify for the loan days before Christmas. Musk went straight to the top, urging then EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson to intervene. According to one of the people, both people spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. Nearly 2/3 of the $38 billion in funds have been promised to Musk businesses in the past 5 years. So this came out in early 2025. This is all Joe Biden here. Joe Biden's administration. We'll look at that graph in a second. When in the past, where am I? See, I'm losing my place all over. Like in 2024 alone, federal and local governments committed to at least $6.3 billion to Musk companies, the highest total to date. You can see this here. The reason 2025 is so small, and we'll look at that next. The reason 2025 is so small is because it had just started when this came out. This is only for the first month of 2025. Alki starting 2026 with an anti-welfare take. I'm anti-welfare for this guy. I kind of feel like this guy's assets should be seized. His company should be nationalized and he should be imprisoned. That's my take on it. That might be kind of spicy. I don't know. Sounds like a self-made billionaire to me. This video doesn't even cover the ridiculous inheritance he received from his father. Doesn't even go into that. That's not what this video is about. But no, he's not no billionaire is self-made. That's really silly. Even if a billionaire, someone who wasn't a billionaire, or even someone who wasn't from a rich family, even a poor schlub like you or I, even if we somehow became a billionaire in life through hard work, we would still have taken a tremendous amount from the public that we did business with. Nothing happens in a vacuum. This is not some, this is not some story of greatness happening that could never happen anywhere else. This is us, these people, sucking more and more and more out of us, out of our taxes, and becoming rich from it. So Musk companies here have received billions in government funding. In 2024, in 2024, that was the biggest year. I'd also like to point out that there are still a lot of people who think he invented the concept of an electric car. Yeah, I think those were around before. I don't know, does the Prius predate Tesla maybe? I'm not sure. The total amount is probably larger. This analysis includes only publicly available contracts emitting classified defense and intelligence work for the federal government. So a bunch of shit isn't even accounted for in here. SpaceX has been developing spy satellites for the National Reconnaissance Office, the Pentagon's spy satellite division, according to Reuters. The Wall Street Journal reported that contract was worth $1.8 billion, citing company documents. The Post found nearly a dozen other local grants, reimbursements, and tax credits where the specific amount of money is not public. An additional 52 ongoing contracts with 7 government agencies, including NASA, the Defense Department. This is where we get into the current, last year during Trump's second term, the Defense Department and the General Services Administration are on track to potentially pay Musk and his companies an additional $11.8 billion over the next few years. So that's, $38 billion prior and another $11.8 billion. So another 25% more than that increase, about a third more. Government contracts to SpaceX from NASA and the Defense Department make up the majority of funds. Tesla has earned $11.4 billion in regulatory credits, and federal and state programs aimed at boosting the electric car industry. And experts say its sales have been bolstered by a federal $7,500 electric vehicle tax credit for consumers. Musk has called for an end to the consumer tax credit. Interesting. For that credit. So he benefits for it, but he wants to end it. That's good. Arguing his competitors need the incentive more than Tesla. DOGE, which stands for, we all know what DOGE stands for, has sought to cut staff, slash budgets or contracts at all 7 of the agencies where Musk companies have ongoing contracts. So Musk is a tumor growing off of us, let's pretend that instead of a government agency, it's your arm. You have a tumor growing out of your arm that you keep on feeding and feeding and feeding, and then that tumor cuts off your arm. It's sort of like you kind of see where this is going. He's this vampiric parasite that then illegally, I should add, and unconstitutionally slaughters the host that has fed him. I think this video is about edging the audience the way Elon was edged by all the masseuses. Okay. No, we're going to get to it in a minute here, but I'm establishing, it's about a few things, right? But I'm establishing one, Elon Musk is a white nationalist. That's undisputed based on his own declarations and his own activities. 2, Elon Musk is a welfare queen who's taken billions of dollars from the taxpayer money. 3, he's used that money against us. He used $291 million to get Donald Trump elected. That's the next part. And we're actually done here. So everything we're looking at tonight, guys, everything that I pulled up for this is going to be linked in the sources of the video. So you'll see it on there. So we're not going to waste too much time. We've got a lot of pretty lengthy articles here. This is actually, I believe this is a congressional report. This is, yeah. So I'm going to link this for you guys. You guys will get this. Elon Musk's business empire is built on $38 billion in government funding, the Washington Post. So maybe not. Maybe it's an article, but it's from congress.gov. That's where I pulled it. So that'll be available for you. Another thing Elon was able to buy with his contributions, other than billions in taxpayer subsidies, other than what we'll get into in a minute here, which is DOGE cuts, was this ad that our president, Donald Trump, did for him last year. I'm sure you all remember this great ad, a great Tesla commercial, which to me seems like it should be crazy illegal. I think it should be illegal for the president to endorse a product for one of his donors. He loves, yeah, everything's computer. Grandpa. Wow. I've never sat in the driver's seat of a car before. It's a beautiful car.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
Everything's computer. Yeah.
Hello, President Trump. Are you looking to buy or lease today?
Well, I'm going to buy, and I'm going to buy because...
This is Elon standing here with Trump, like, all right, say what you want, say it, say the words.
Number one, it's a great product, as good as...
It's a great product. It's not a Cybertruck, you know? So maybe it is a great product. I don't know. I don't know if the Tesla vehicles themselves are a great product. I know that I live in like the most densely Tesla, you know, where people have like the most Teslas here in California, and it sucks seeing that shit. You know, when the Cybertrucks first came out, I saw them everywhere. Now I barely see them. It's like, what happened? I guess that went out of fashion for the people who would buy those. We're not going to cover all the protests and boycotts of Tesla, but you know, I live in bumfuck nowhere and I still see Cybertrucks. Damn. Yeah, I barely see them anymore. I used to see them every fucking day around. Now I never see them. You saw one recently? Yeah. I know they were recalled several times. The matte black one actually looks sick. It looks like a xenomorph, you know? Xenomorph. I said it right. Shut up. Those are actually pretty cool looking, but it's a garbage product. That's the one Cybertruck I feel doesn't look like a fucking, like junk. That doesn't look like cheap garbage. Your dentist has one? Jesus. Everyone in town calls him gay for it. Homophobia is never acceptable, guys. It still looked ugly to me. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
He gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. And I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people.
It's a huge group. Huge group of people. We all hate Elon Musk. Not very many Elon fans, I think.
This is bulletproof.
You're probably more unpopular. I don't know.
I mean, look, in terms of imagination, I think I have a great imagination. Who else but this guy would design this, and
It looks like a PS1 car, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody on the road is looking at it. It's amazing, actually. As soon as I saw it, I said, that is the coolest design.
It's beautiful. That's silly. Doesn't really have a lot to do with the video here. I'm just pointing out like how gross it is that you can buy ad endorsements from the president if you're a billionaire. Really nasty shit, right? Third world shit, I would say. This year, though, So we're getting closer to the present. This is an article from last April. Here, this is about how we're giving almost $6 billion to SpaceX, or we did give them that last year. Washington, April 4th. There's a Reuters article. Elon Musk, SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin on Friday won U.S. Space Force rocket launch contracts worth a combined $13.5 billion through 2029 to send some of the Pentagon's most sensitive and complex satellites into space. I feel like I wouldn't trust SpaceX with that because, their rockets don't always have successful launches. That's all I'll say. I don't know. I feel like if you look at how many, maybe one of you knows, I didn't pull anything on this, how many failure to launches or how many catastrophic launches, I know like the Challenger and shit, like how many catastrophic launches did NASA have versus how many has SpaceX has? SpaceX is my favorite fireworks stand. Yeah, goat. It's kind of ridiculous, right? The Space Force's flagship National Security Space Launch Procurement Program will assign roughly 54 missions through 2029 in incremental task orders, according to its Space Systems Command Office. SpaceX was awarded 28 of the missions, won $5.9 billion. ULA, the joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin, won $5.3 billion for 19 missions. Blue Origin got 7 missions worth $2.3 billion. Now, Jeff Bezos, also an oligarch, maybe not so egregious as Elon Musk in terms of how he's meddled with our country, but still gave a tremendous amount of money to Trump's at least inauguration fund. I haven't even looked into campaign contributions. I think Bezos is more willing to like defy Trump sometimes. Like, I know that when the tariffs were announced, they posted something on Amazon for a minute showing like the price increases of your items that were due to the tariffs. But after that got taken down pretty quick from what I remember. Damn, I just looked it up. 3 for NASA, 5 for SpaceX. Shit. And SpaceX has only been around for like, 15 years or something? 20 years maybe? I think 20 years is what that article said. So they're not, compared to just NASA in general, they're not batting very well. The Reuters earlier reported SpaceX and ULA were tapped for the awards. The program, the most competitive and lucrative U.S. launch effort, effectively affirms the companies as the most capable American rocket providers, though Blue Origin's new Glenn rocket has launched once in January and is less experienced than SpaceX's and ULA's rockets. I wonder how John Glenn feels about having Bezos name a rocket after him. I know he's dead now, I think. Right? John Glenn's long dead at this point. I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that. One of you will correct me, I'm sure. NASA has 3 from 67 to 2. Yeah. So what is that? 40 years almost? Wild. And they haven't had one since 2003. So before SpaceX was even a thing. So they've had 0, and SpaceX has had 5 failed launches in the intervening time. So again, we're not going to go through this whole article. It's pretty lengthy, I think. Not too lengthy. I'm not going to torture you in that way though. But yeah, we won't go through it too much. But I'm just pointing out like these companies. So Elon Musk, all right. So $6 billion for SpaceX. I feel like $291 million investment for $6 billion in return isn't that bad of an investment. That's a great investment, It's a pretty good investment. But moving on, Elon Musk and SpaceX attack the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB. I've mentioned the NLRB tons of times in videos previously. Joe Biden was the strongest president in the last 30 years for labor. When Elon Musk took over started DOGE, he went on a crusade against the NLRB to weaken them. They managed to survive that onslaught, but now he's back. This is an article from a few days ago. Elon Musk Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, commonly known as SpaceX, is challenging the constitutionality of the National Labor Relations Board In a lawsuit that could undermine the enforcement of national labor law to date, the strategy is working, with its prospects unclear until the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority weighs in definitively. The litigation is part of a broader strategy to hobble the administration or deep state, while President Trump moves to capture and weaponize the federal bureaucracy. What is SpaceX's NLRB strategy? Many of America's largest employers are used to defending themselves against charges that they have violated the National Labor Relations Act. At a time when tech titans such as Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk, the oligarchs, three of the oligarchs, have visibly curried favor with the Trump administration, let's not forget Peter Thiel, a number of big tech, he's possibly the most dangerous one other than Musk, a number of big tech companies once perceived as progressive, such as Amazon, Starbucks, and SpaceX, have been charged with hundreds of unfair labor practices as they have vehemently resisted their employees' attempts to unionize. As of 2024, Amazon was involved in more than 250 open or closed cases. There were 741 cases against Starbucks. SpaceX had numerous charges consolidated into one case. Normally, employers accused of breaking labor laws defend their actions as being legal. When the NLRB finds them guilty, these employees use procedural complexities to delay final resolution of cases, hoping to frustrate organizing and divert justice. Led by Musk's SpaceX, however, companies such as Starbucks, Amazon, and Trader Joe's have gone beyond defending themselves against unfair labor practice charges. They are taking the offensive, challenging the authority of the NLRB to enforce the law. The NLRB ensures the rights of employees to organize and bargain collectively. So I just want to say here, it really did matter who was president for labor. I just want to point that out. The fact that Donald Trump, really Elon Musk, is president, is terrible for labor. Labor is under assault because of them. Just pointing that out. That mattered. This wouldn't be happening under a Harris administration. This didn't happen under a Biden administration. Actually, under Biden, it's not going to be in this video because it's already been in future videos, past videos in the sources, all the good things that Biden did for labor and all the NLRB rulings under Biden, and that Biden was I think the only president in like the last 30 years where union enrollment went up from the beginning of his term to the end of his term. So pretty good shit. So the NLRB's protection of employer rights has been progressively weakened in recent decades as staff and budgets have been slashed. Employers have become increasingly brazen in delaying compliance and accepting penalties as merely the cost of doing business. See, that's why these fines don't work. There needs to be prison sentences, right? We need to imprison these people because a fine is just doing business. The fines don't deter them. They write that off because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to pay the fine. The feds are coming. Yeah, you guys hear that? They're coming to get me. It's cheaper to pay the fine than it is to just follow the law for a lot of these businesses. It's a deeply broken and corrupt system, and it needs to be reined in, and there needs to be very harsh penalties for this sort of crime. These problems are already being exponentially worsened in the Trump administration. SpaceX's litigation strategy amounts to the nuclear option, aimed at destroying the agency by challenging the constitutionality of the NLRB itself. What is SpaceX's argument against the NLRB? I just want to point out the irony of Elon Musk, who violated the Constitution with DOGE, right? So for those of you who don't know, again, this is in the videos already, but for those of you who don't know, Article 1 of the Constitution clearly states that Congress has the power of the purse, and the executive job of the executive branch is to execute the law. So the president himself doesn't get to determine who gets funding and who doesn't. It's his job to pay the funds that Congress has appropriated by law. So what DOGE was it was a giant violation of the Constitution, treason really, where the executive branch, whose jobs and responsibilities are listed in Article 2, infringed upon the role of Congress in Article 1. This is terrible overstep by an imperial administration over checks and balances. Don't worry about it, buddy. I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to watch it now. We're in the middle of recording a video, okay? This is very important. SpaceX argues that the NLRB structure violates the Constitution in 3 ways. Removal protections. The Constitution vests all executive power in the president, yet board members and the administrative law judges who make the initial determinations in unfair labor practice cases are not accountable to the chief executive because they can be removed only for good cause. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what Schedule F is, so basically this is like in Project 2025, they called for certain appointees to be reclassified so they can be fired by the executive. And that was one strategy for basically the executive, the president, trying to take unilateral control over all these agencies, right? The agencies are supposed to function independently. You know, there's a reason why the NLRB should be independent from the executive and the whims of the executive branch. It's important in a democracy. Power is supposed to be distributed across 3 branches of government, but also different forces within those branches. And while the president is ultimately the executive, there's supposed to be independence to prevent this very thing, to prevent corruption and the erosion of your representation. That's really what it all comes down to. So what he's saying here is that it's unconstitutional for these judges, these administrative law judges and board members, to exist outside of the president's purview. Number 2, jury trials. The board can levy fines on employers without the benefit of jury trials as required by the 7th Amendment. The 7th Amendment doesn't apply to corporations, right? Those are rights for citizens, not rights for corporations. Corporations are not citizens. Separation of powers. The NLRB combines the exercise of judicial, legislative, and executive functions, thus violating the principle of separation of powers. That's really, so that almost seems to contradict the first point. The NLRB, so the NLRB, because it's an independent body that has both judicial, legislative, and executive functions, he's saying that violates the separation of powers clause in the Constitution. So his way of amending that is to, instead of having them be split between 3 functions of government, to have them just all be under the executive, to basically swallow them up into one branch of government. So his answer, if he thinks this is a problem, if he thinks it's not living out separation of powers enough, his solution is to do that even less. That's what their lawsuit here is alleging. These constitutional claims amount to a reactionary attempt to undercut a key agency established in 1935 during the Great Depression to protect workers' fundamental rights to organize and bargain collectively during, so in the first video essay I'm working on, it's about liberalism and social democracy, and a big part of it deals with FDR and the New Deal and how that was the best thing that ever happened to America. Well, in the last 100 years, we'll say. I don't want to make too bold a claim there, but in the last 100 years. So, yet the daring attack is only one battle in a larger war waged by conservatives to overturn the constitutional system and active national government constructed by FDR's New Deal pillars of America's political order for almost a century. So this is about undermining social liberalism, right? Representation, the government, which represents you, being used to check the power of certain citizens, certain billionaires and business owners who would use their rights to infringe upon your rights, who would use their money and their power through corrupt means, which, remember, guys, that's why it was so important, right, to go over that stuff earlier about how Elon Musk companies are as successful as they were, funded $38 billion by you. And now look how that money is being used. After Elon, after Elon takes the money, after his heist is over, how does he use his ill-gotten gains? He uses them to destroy your rights to unionize. That's what this is about. He uses them to take away your representation in the workplace. He uses it to make you less free. This is why there's so much cohesion between oligarchs and fascists, because they both ultimately want the same thing, which is authoritarian control over every aspect of your life. How does the SpaceX suit fit into the right's larger strategy? We're not going to continue with this because, again, I know, off on a tangent, guys. This video is actually not about this. Still, we're getting to it. The final twist here is coming. This video is called White Nationalist Elon Musk Kills 700,000 Children. More than 700,000 children, probably. And Return of the King As video. This hasn't been good for you? This wasn't good for you, buddy? You haven't enjoyed the narrative that's being built here? Anyways, guys, again, all these sources are going to be linked in the description. I do want you, if you're interested in this, or if you doubt anything I'm saying, if you feel like you want to react to this and you're unhappy with it, or if you just want to do your civic duty and do a deep dive into this, because I'm going to, this is all pertinent to later videos that I'm working on. But I wanted to share this part with you because I felt like this was ready and needed to be shared, especially given light of recent events that are happening here with the NLRB. So this video is about the cuts to USAID, though, ultimately. So we've built a case right here that the DOGE was unconstitutional. It was executive overreach over the legislative branch. That's an important point. The person behind it, Elon Musk, is a welfare queen who built his fortune by sapping your tax dollars, by sucking up your tax dollars. You subsidized his wealth, and now his wealth is being used to destroy your rights. But his wealth, which was used to buy influence in the administration and the regime, to basically give him carte blanche to slaughter 700,000 children, to cut USAID, which has tons of ramifications. For those of you who aren't familiar, USAID was the main way, one of the big ways, that America exercised soft power in the world. Big part of our foreign policy diplomacy, but also it kept millions of people alive. And we're going to read a little bit about that. This is an article from November recently, so 2 months ago, not even 2 months old. USAID shutdown has led to hundreds of thousands of deaths. The Trump regime's decision to shut down the agency, U.S. Agency for International Development, has resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths from infectious diseases and malnutrition, according to Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health's Atul Gawande. Jesus, I'm sorry. I know I didn't pronounce that right. I didn't prep for this, really. But this is a Harvard study that we're reading here, an article published on the Harvard School of Public Health. Gawande, a surgeon, author, and distinguished professor in residence at Ariadne Labs, which he co-founded, served in the Biden administration as the assistant administrator for global health at USAID. He wrote a November 5th article in The New Yorker about the devastating impact of the loss of USAID funds around the world. He was also featured in an accompanying short documentary called Rovana's Choice, which he co-executive produced, that told the story of how one mother living in a Kenyan refugee camp tried to save her severely malnourished daughter after U.S. support dried up. And in a previous video, too, we followed the people who had died already by that point. That was 6-7 months ago by now, who had already died from USAID. I believe the first casualty was a Malaysian woman. Don't remember her name, unfortunately. But that was something that we covered on the channel way back in March or April or May. One of those spring, the dark spring of 2025. Hopefully this one won't be as bad. A lot of leftists who are happy to see U.S. lose influence don't seem to get this part. Well, a lot of leftists are not really leftists. Or, they're leftists in this fantasy sort of way where they don't understand, it doesn't matter, history or any of that. It's unfortunate. And we need to educate them. And I think that's our responsibility. At least in part. You know, everyone's responsible for themselves. Again, I'm an existentialist. I think that if you're going to have a political position like that, you should do your part to be informed about it. But in this article, Gowande, what do you guys think? You guys should phonetically spell it out in chat for me about how I should pronounce it. That's why I watch you, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Cited an analysis in the Lancet that estimated that USAID assistance aimed at combating diseases such as HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and polio, reducing maternal and child deaths, and fighting malnutrition had saved 92 million lives over 2 decades. The dismantling of USAID, according to models from Boston University epidemiologist Brooke Nichols, I got that one right, has already caused the death of 600,000 people, 2/3 of them children. Gowande wrote, he noted that the toll will continue to grow and may go unseen because it can take months or years for people to die from lack of treatments or vaccine-preventable illness, and because deaths are scattered. We are now witnessing what the historian Richard Rhodes termed public man-made death, he wrote. The documentary told the story of Rovina Naboy, a single mother of 9 children, who took her daughter Jane, whose health had deteriorated due to malnutrition, to a clinic and stayed with her there for 10 days. But she felt compelled to leave with Jane, still seriously ill, because she learned that her other children left at home had not eaten for days. Arriving home, Naboy managed to find food for her other children, but Jane died the next day. The clinic's chief medical officer, Dr. Scylla Monta, commented on Naboy's predicament. Having to choose between leaving the hospital with Jane or staying while her other children starved, that is a decision that no mother ever should have to make, she said. So you can read the article if you guys want. So this article here is going to be linked again. I also pulled the Lancet article here. This is crazy detailed, guys. Gowanda. Bro, what are you making me say? I don't want to, like, what did I just say? I'm sorry if what did I do? Who did I summon? Okay, buddy. I believe it's pronounced goat pen. Is that how you say it? The Lancet, evaluating the impact of 2 decades of USAID interventions and projecting the effects of defunding on mortality up to 2030, a retrospective impact evaluation and forecasting analysis. So, you think you know a guy? Guinevere, okay. This is like I said, this is the article that they were talking about in the last article. This is the Lancet analysis. We're going to read just a little bit of this. We're not going to go too much into it, but I just want you guys to get like an idea of how they got all this, because this is extremely detailed, and the data here it's pretty sound how they came up with this. The U.S. Agency for International Development is the largest funding agency for humanitarian development aid worldwide. The aim of this study is to comprehensively evaluate the effect of all USAID funding on adult and child mortality over the past 2 decades and forecast the future effects of its defunding. In this retrospective impact evaluation, integrated with forecasting analysis, we use panel data from 133 countries and territories, including all low-income and middle-income countries with USAID support, ranging from none to very high. First, we used fixed effects multivariable Poisson models with robust SEs adjusted for demographic, socioeconomic, and healthcare factors to estimate the impact of USAID funding on all age and all-cause mortality from 2001 to 2021. Second, we evaluated its effects by age-specific, sex-specific, and cause-specific groups. Third, we did several sensitivity and triangulation analyses. Lastly, we integrated the retrospective evaluation with validated dynamic microsimulation models to estimate effects up to 2030. Findings: higher levels of USAID funding, primarily directed towards lower and middle income countries, particularly African countries, again, This is where the white nationalism, I think, becomes relevant that we talked about at the beginning of this. Particularly African countries were associated with a 15% reduction in age-standardized all-cause mortality risk. Risk ratio, 0.85, 95%. Jesus, I am not a stat major, all right? Like, I don't. This is very complex for my tiny brain. Obscure right-wing yeah, okay, whatever. But yeah, so it's all age deaths, including 30. Oh, am I supposed to read that like 30,391,980 in children younger than 5 years? Okay, so basically, this finding indicates that 91 million all-age deaths, including 31 million deaths from children younger than 5 years, were prevented by USAID funding over the 21-year study period. USAID funding was associated with a 65% reduction in mortality from AIDS and HIV, 51% from malaria, and 50% from neglected tropical diseases. So it's pretty crazy, right? 90 million deaths over the last 20 years. Significant decreases were also observed in mortality and tuberculosis, nutritional deficiencies, diarrheal diseases, lower respiratory infections, and maternal and perinatal conditions. Forecasting models predicted that the current steep funding cuts could result in more than 14,051,750 additional all-age deaths, including 4,537,157 in children younger than ages 5 years. So this is predicting that 4 million children will die in the next 5 years, that 14 million people overall will die in the next 5 years because of these USAID cuts. I think 11 million people died in the Holocaust. Is that correct? In total? I know it was 6 million Jews, but I think there were something like that, yeah. There were 5 million other people who were killed. So, you know, when you think about like the genocide in China, the genocide in Yemen, the genocide in Gaza, you know, all these terrible things that those 100,000 people Maduro and Chavez killed, you know, when you think about all that, those numbers are dwarfed by numbers of death greater than the Holocaust that were caused by these cuts that Elon Musk is responsible for. Elon Musk may, over the next 5 years, murder 14 million people. I want you guys to think about that. I don't think in history, maybe Stalin, has there ever been a dictator, maybe Hitler, if you take more than the Holocaust, but all the deaths caused by the war, who has been responsible. He's on a level with Stalin and Hitler for the most deaths caused probably as a result of a single person's actions, or will be caused. So, that's the point of this video. The point of this video is this guy needs to be stopped. His money needs to be taken away from him. His companies need to be nationalized, and he needs to be imprisoned, tried in a court, and imprisoned. He needs to, yeah, maybe so. Yeah, maybe that too. I don't know. But I just want you guys to grasp that, to think about that, to the people watching this video. When we talk about Elon Musk being a monumental piece of shit, who not only has destroyed so many aspects of this country, who has committed treason against the Constitution by violating Article 1 of the Constitution, who is an unaccountable oligarch, shadow president, who there's no legal oversight to. I want you guys to think about that. Can we turn down the... Yeah, it's all right, guys. This video is pretty much wrapped up here. So this was the point, though. This is the study here. You guys can see it goes on and on and on and on. It goes over their methodology, data sources, and their analyses. The results. We calculated the mean values and trends of all variables in the selected countries over the study period. Overall ASMR, not like, hey, welcome to Alchemist Soil ASMR. Not that kind of ASMR, but whatever ASMR means in this context. I skipped that paragraph. Started in 2001 at 11.65 per 1,000 of the population and decreased by 13% until 2021, whereas the under 5 mortality rate at 73.71 was reduced by 49%. On average, USAID funding increased by 97%, whereas the average funding per country increased by 68%. Overall socioeconomic conditions improved both in terms of GDP per capita, adequate sanitation, primary education, and other indicators. Health expenditure as a percentage of GDP and the number of physicians also increased. Elon Musk has done a lot of shitty things. He's slaughtered children by cutting children's cancer research here at home. But really the 700,000 people that have died so far because of his irresponsible and fascistic actions in our government, and the millions more that are projected to die over the next 5 years. So I don't know what's going to be done about that. I would hope that when we retake Congress this year, later on in the midterms, we're able to in some way put a stop to this. We're in some way able to force them to fund USAID. But I don't know. Pretty wild, guys. We're going to wrap it up here, I think. There's a lot. Man, they really get me with these maps, you know? You know how I am with geography, geographic representation, map porn. Okay. Maps are the best. Jesus, you chill. All right, you chill there. Yeah. So this goes on and on and on. There you go. We declare no competing interests. Damn. This is this table here is making predictions. So number of deaths at all ages in 2025, 1.7 million. Well, 1.8 million. 689,000.9 children. So 700,000 children. In 2026, an additional 829,000 children are set to die. 2.5 million overall. In 2027, another 800,000. 2028, another 768,000. In 2029, another 739,000. In 2030, 717,000. 4.5 million children altogether. 14 million people altogether. Oh, you're a big fan of the Yeah, Yeah, Yeahs. That song's okay. I haven't listened to much of them beyond that. I saw you posted an MGMT recommendation, which we'll listen to when I take the first break, which is great because I'm a huge fan. I have their first album on vinyl. So, nice. Based. This is update on lives lost from USAID cuts. I lied when I said we were gonna end the video. I've got one more article. This one's, I think, a bit shorter. So we'll take a look at this and then we'll end the video. Update on lives lost from USAID cuts. The U.S. was and remains the world's largest funder of global health and humanitarian relief. At the start of the year, the Trump administration announced a funding pause, followed by widespread cancellation of foreign assistance awards, fueling widespread concern alongside mounting journalistic reports that the cuts were leading to increased morbidity and death. In a CEPR chapter back in 2025, we calculated that the USAID program cancellation announced by Secretary Marco Rubio could contribute to as many as 500,000 to 700,000 additional deaths. So this is the Center for Global Development, and they predicted a year ago, almost 10 months ago, that it would lead to between 500 and 700,000 deaths. And the Lancet number here, was what? Like 600, I just read it, like almost 700,000. 689.9 thousand. So they were spot on. There's continuity between these different agencies doing these sort of statistical analyses. In this blog, we report on an update to our earlier estimates of the potential mortality impacts of the administration's cuts based on an addendum to the CEPR chapter published this month. A similar approach to our original estimates using financial data to the end of the fiscal year suggests that lives lost based on the decline in outlays, current spending, may be in the range of 500,000 to 1 million. They were right. And potential lives lost based on the decline in obligations are between 670,000 and 1.6 million. They were right. Our forecasts of lives lost from USAID cuts look similar or worse than they did back in June. So they underestimated the death toll from this act of treason. Our estimates of lives saved per dollar combined our own calculations with a variety of estimates from the empirical social science literature on the impact of primarily USAID programs, including HIV/AIDS treatment, malaria, tuberculosis control, and humanitarian relief. And we estimated the dollar value of aid cuts by sector using foreignassistance.gov data from 2024 and early 2025 on obligations to awards and lists of canceled and retained awards provided to Congress in March. So I want to see, a picture remains confusing. Since June, it has become clear that the list of canceled and retained awards provided to Congress that we used in our analysis was incomplete and subject to reversal. Awards worth at least $21.8 billion in obligated value as of August this year were still reported active. In addition, we are unable to directly update our analysis using the previous approach given the complexity of the USA Spending.gov and SF-133 report data from OBM remember Russ Vogt's office that he heads, to update from foreignassistance.gov because ID codes do not match up. Instead, we use less granular data on the status of the FY 2025 outlays regarding global health spending, humanitarian relief, and food aid using SF-133 reports alongside FY 2025 obligations and the revised FY 2025 and proposed FY 2026 federal budgets. We apply the average cost per life saved across the entire U.S. global health portfolio, weighted by baseline spending amounts. This works out to $3,457 per life saved for health aid. For humanitarian and food aid, our estimate remains $17,837. If spending patterns at the global health and humanitarian accounts were reflected at the sectoral level for life-saving aid as of the end of September, our original method would suggest 510,000 deaths from global health cuts over the year, looking at outlays at that point compared to 2023, but about 1 million compared to 2024. Estimated lives lost in the financial year 25 compared to previous fiscal years, based on outlays and obligations. So you can see here, this is 2025 spending cuts relative to previous years. Health, based on outlays. In 2023, it was 80 cents on the dollar, and here it was $3.10. Implied lives lost in 2025 relative to previous years. Compared to 2023, 254,000. 2024, 900,000. That's just for health. In total, so they also do humanitarian aid. So in total, it was 509,000 when compared to 2023 numbers, and over 1 million when compared to 2024 numbers. So, turning to fiscal year 2026 and the foreign assistance budget, while there were significant recessions overall to the fiscal year 2025 foreign assistance accounts that may amount to over $10 billion, the global health account saw a cut of only $500 million out of the $10 billion originally budgeted. Humanitarian assistance was subject to administration actions, which reduced an initial $8.7 billion budget to 5.9 billion budget. So about 3 billion. Guys, how much money did we give to SpaceX this year back in April? What was it? 5.9 billion, 6 billion. So almost twice as much. So pretty fucked up, guys. That's it though. That's what we're going to end the video here. They're just going over more. I guess we'll read the last conclusion here. The enormous caveat that must be attached to any discussion of the health and humanitarian impacts from aid cuts is that we lack direct, systematic data from the ground on what has happened to the pipeline of U.S. life-saving assistance. Aggregate information on delivery of the two largest U.S. bilateral global health programs remains unavailable. For malaria, the PMI.gov website is still down, and for HIV/AIDS, there is no recent monitoring and evaluation data for PEPFAR, which was the AIDS organization within USAID that was funded. Without this information, the representative survey work for beneficiaries, any estimates of lives lost remains guesswork. But there has been well-documented and extensive disruption of life-saving programs and destruction of implementation capacity, both within USAID and implementing partners, which is not well captured in aggregate spending figures. While quantification is difficult, there is little doubt many people have died as a result, and without action, many more will die in the future. So you've got two analyses there. This one is for the Center for Global Development. The last one was from the Lancet. This one is far more detailed, gives a lot more information here, and they go very in depth with their analysis. So I definitely, it's quite the read. But if you're really interested in this, I definitely recommend you guys check out this Lancet study that I'll be posting in the sources in the description. Now, I want to ask you guys, when Donald Trump came into office, he said that this was wasteful spending, that the taxpayers were being ripped off. And I want to ask you, as taxpayers here in this country, most of you in this country, do you feel, what's a better use of your tax money? USAID? Do you feel like that's an okay use of your tax money? Or do you prefer your tax money go to funding SpaceX and subsidizing Elon Musk's wealth? Which of those do you think is a better use of your tax money? Okay. I'm behind here on the chats, but I'll read those in a minute. I'm about to end the video and then I'll read all that. But I'm just curious if any of you, personally, I want transgender for everybody. Yeah. Well, I want my money funding international aid and the social safety net. Yep. Yeah. You're all fucking communists though, right? So, you're communists. You who want to keep children alive, children from starving. But you know who's not a communist? The person whose wealth is funded by the government. The welfare leech, Elon Musk. The child murderer, Elon Musk. The parasite who does war against your representation in the workplace, Elon Musk. The man needs to be stopped. He needs to be brought to justice. And that's where we're going to end the video here. Thanks for watching, everyone.